Good afternoon, class. This is Hassan, and this is my presentation on operating systems and firewall hardening. Good afternoon, class. My name is Hassan, and this is my presentation on operating system, firewalls, hardening, and recommendations. Let's begin with the operating systems. Operating system is the most important software that runs on a computer. It manages input, output, storage, and network devices. Operating systems allow us to communicate with a computer without knowing how to speak the computer language. Operating system is a program that manages the computer resource like CPU, input and output devices, so the resource can be correctly and fairly used. Next, I'm going to discuss types of operating system. The three most popular common operating systems are Windows, Linux, and Mac. Windows operating system was created by Microsoft in mid-80s, and there have been many versions of Windows, and the most recent one is the Windows 10 that was released in 2015. Windows comes preloaded on most PC, which make it the most popular operating system. Another popular operating system is Linux. Linux belongs to a family of open source system, which means that they can be modified by a company that owns it. The advantage of Linux is free, and there are many different distribution and version you can choose from. Another operating system is Mac. This is the operating system that also comes preloaded in all Macintosh computers and Mac, and it was created by Apple. We also have other type of operating system, which are mobile operating system. And these operating systems are for mobile phones, tablets, smartwatch, and the example of the most popular ones are like Android, Apple, and BlackBerry. Next, I'm going to discuss the types of operating system. The three most popular common operating systems are Windows, Linux, and Mac. Windows operating system was created by Microsoft in middle 80s, and there have been many versions of Windows, and the most recent one is Windows 10 that was released in 2015. Windows comes with preloaded on most computers, which make us the most popular operating system. Another operating system is Linux, and Linux belongs to a family of an open source operating system, which means they can be modified by the company that owns it. And the advantage of Linux is free and many different distribution and version. You can choose it from different forms. Another operating system is Mac operating system. This operating system also comes with preloaded with all Macintosh computers and Mac, and it was created by Apple. We have other types of operating system like mobile operating systems that are, for example, mobile phones and tablets, smartwatch, and the most popular type of mobile operating systems are Android and Apple's operating system and BlackBerry. Next, I'm going to discuss about hardening recommendation and procedures for Windows. Hardening of the operating system is the act of configuring operating system securely, updating it, creating rules and policies to govern the system in a secure manner, and removing unnecessary application and service. The operation part, you have to make sure that you lock your device and keep your device in a secure place. Next thing, which is technical, you have to turn on your window firewalls so that inbound connection are set to block and outbound connection are set to allow login. Next, you have to maintain a proper antivirus software. We need to install and enable all antivirus software. We also need to install and enable anti-spyware software. We need to configure antivirus and anti-spyware software daily. We also need to make sure that we have a latest patches for our operating system. Even after putting patches, we have to make sure that all our applications are up to date. This is a continuation for hardening recommendation for Windows. We need to disable all unused accounts. For security protection, we need to make sure that we disable and uninstall all unused accounts. And we also need to inspect and delete irrelevant accounts regularly. Those accounts might not be relevant to the operation and maintenance of our computers. We also need to make sure that we disable all unnecessary service. For example, if you have dynamic IP address that's not used, make sure you disable it. And if you have filing sharing and printer that are not used, you make sure you disable it all. On the management part, we need to enforce strong password and make sure users change password regularly. We also need to configure our machines in activities limit to idle to protect idle interactive session. And for accounts that are logged remotely, we need to set and automatically disconnect if suspended for more than 15 minutes. Next, I'm going to discuss about hardening recommendation for Linux. You need to keep your device secured. You need to lock your device when not in use and lock users' account after login failures. Make sure you keep system security updates and you keep Linux kernel and software up to date. You need to set up a strong password. And a strong password normally include 8 characters long and mixture of alphabetical, numbers, special characters, upper and lower alphabetical. And make sure that you pick up a strong password that you can always remember. You also need to do backups on your Linux system. A proper offsite backups allow us to recover from a cracked servers. So we need to set up an encrypted backups to external storage, such as NSA server or cloud computing server, such as AWS. We also need to perform system audit. System audit help us to answer many questions, include who accessed those files or who edited or write and make changes in files. And we can also find out if that event was very successful or was failed. Next, I'm going to discuss about firewalls. Firewalls is a network security device that monitors incoming and outgoing network traffic and permit and block data packets based on security rules. Firewalls perform 2 basic security functions. First one is packet filtering, which examine packets and prohibit them from passing through if they don't match an established security rule. Another function is application layer, which sits between protected network and the rest of the world, and is done by breaking through IP flows. Other functions include stateful, which examine network traffic to determine whether one packet is related to another, and stateless, also known as access control list, that does not stateful inspect traffic. Also, we have circuit level that works at the session layer of the OSA model. In this slide, I'm going to discuss about hardening recommendation and procedural firewalls. Make sure you update and apply necessary policies. This will ensure only authorized administrators to make changes to your policy. Next thing, make sure you keep your operating system version up to date and keep your firewall's operating system updated. You also need to update firewalls often and limit access and permission to firewalls. You also need to manage proper port access because allowing all ports will impact the security of the server by allowing malicious activities. You also need to remove default permission and keep your device in a secure location always, and make sure you require 2-factor authentication. In this slide, I'm going to discuss window firewalls hardening. Make sure your local administrator account is reset to something secure, and you verify your local guest account is disabled. You also need to run Windows security configurations and configure at least 2 DNS servers for redundancy. You also need to update installation to keep your server secure and up to date. You'll need to set up network logins and encrypt non-domain communication as well. In this slide, I'm going to discuss Linux firewall hardening. Number one, make sure you partition your disk. It's very important to have different partitions to obtain more higher data security in case of any disaster. You also need to keep your system updated with new, latest, or released patches, security fixes, or kernel whenever it's available. You also need to turn on SE Linux. Disabling SE Linux means removing security mechanism from your system. You also need to enforce strong password because weak or soft password can be easily hacked with a dictionary-based or brute attack. And this brings the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching, and the following are my references.